Gabe, I just want to ask you a few questions regarding producers and farmers getting started with cover crops and maybe some questions that they might have.
The one thing that nearly all producers look at and their reason for not moving into cover crops is they're afraid of yield drag. They're afraid it'll negatively affect their bottom line. And that's something that we're just not seeing at all. In fact, the impact is positive in many, many ways. But it's that initial fear that's holding them back from trying cover crops. We have to get over that fear. We have to help producers get over their fear of that negative economic impact. And so the best way I've seen to do that is find those producers who are willing to try covers and then get them to share that with other producers, and especially the economic data. And sometimes as producers we're hesitant to show everyone our income and expenses, but that's the best way. If you can show them the dollars and cents of it, then other producers are more likely to go down this path. I think what we're seeing is just the opposite. I think we're seeing more people willing to try things because they know this current economic situation is not a good one. And they're saying, hey, this isn't working. I've got to do something to make me money, more money. And the way to do that is by advancing soil health, of which cover crops are a big part, of course. By advancing soil health, they're able to significantly impact their bottom line. So we're actually seeing more people, greater interest in cover crops now than we did, say, for instance, back in 2012. Hands down, the number one thing that I've seen is the financial returns. The financial impact on my bottom line from using covers and from advancing the health of our soils, it's night and day difference. We're way more profitable now than we were before. The biggest benefit to me of growing covers and advancing soil health is the fact that as you go down this path and as you learn how soil functions, you will become, quote unquote, a least cost producer. And I'm not saying don't use inputs, but what I'm saying is make better use of those dollars that you spend on inputs. In other words, by using covers, we're able to hold the nutrients on our soils rather than have them go down the watershed, and that significantly reduced the amount of inputs that we need. And we're seeing this by all producers all over, not only the country but the world, is that as they advance soil health, they're able to significantly decrease the amount of dollars that they spend on inputs. I just visited with a young couple from Canada who have been moving down this path for the past 7 years. They took a $300,000 synthetic fertilizer bill and they're now spending $27,000 a year, yet their yields are increasing. And they said what that's done to them financially is just, it's liberating. Sure. And they're ecstatic about it. And that's good to see it. We're seeing that all over. The first thing that a producer should do is to learn how soil functions. It absolutely amazes me. As producers, we'll go buy tractors and combines and they all come with an owner's manual. But how many producers really understand how soil functions? And the answer is very, very few. Once we understand how soil functions, this all becomes relatively simple. It's just a matter of working with the natural ecosystems and how soil functions. And as producers, we just haven't taken the time to learn that. We think soil is a medium to hold a plant upright. We don't realize all that it entails. The beauty of this day and age, so to speak, is with the power of the internet, you can find anything on there. And if you just want to take the time and you know, I tell people these iPhones are wonderful tools, and the fact that as we're out in the fields planting and seeding, what a beautiful opportunity to listen to a podcast and to learn and to educate. And what we're finding is, as producers move down this path, they become more and more interested. And I have had thousands of producers come up to me and say they were invigorated, they got a new outlook on their farm or ranch, because they're starting to educate themselves and learn how ecosystems function. One of the best things that has been done recently is SWCD has done some real good work where they have polled thousands of producers who are using cover crops, and they've compiled that data to get some real hard economic data and on the meaning and the benefits of covers to producers. And I look at research like that because it's so widespread, and it's a very, very large project, so a lot of producers involved. That's a good starting point for producers to take a look and see, hey, this is being done everywhere, I can do it here. If we look at how these soils were formed, you know, here in you know, southeastern Minnesota, if we look at how they were formed over eons of times with large herds of grazing ruminants, bison, elk moving across them, being pushed by predators, and then those grasses, you know, they were bitten, they were stepped on, and then they were left alone for long periods of time to recover. That's how these deep prairie soils were formed, with that cycling of carbon. We need to get back to that, and the way to do it this day and age, of course, is with livestock. To me, livestock are just a no-brainer on a farm or ranch. I tell people I can advance soil health without livestock, but I can take it even further with livestock. And then when you add to that the fact of what it'll do for a producer economically by integrating livestock onto the operation, to me it's a no-brainer.